In this video, I'll be doing the past paper on database and security of 2018. So, let's get to it. Now, this you just have to memorize, right? I want you to associate project with columns and select with rows. Now, how I remember it this, right? Project is P, columns is C, so PC. So, yeah. So, what this means if from an SQL statement, so it's picture a table with a database. If you just want the column and you take out that column from the table, it's called project. If you just take out the row, it's called select. So just remember like that. Or the way you can think about it, project is something big. So if you take a column, like the whole column from up to down, it's something big. If you take select, it's small. S stands for small. So select is just a row. Row is very little in a database. The next one, which of the following functions is true? So this is false because Microsoft Word is not, you can also do it on Access, you see, so it's false. So a database management system is a group of programs that interfaces between database and application program. That's true. The person who plans and designs and creates, operates, monitors and maintains is called data administrator. That is true. This is false because it reduces data redundancy, meaning like it reduces the cost. So it doesn't lead to data redundancy. And entities, person, place, or thing that which company stores data about, that is true. So in this question, it's actually an error, right? It's an error because there's 3 truths. So yeah, there's actually an error here, right? SQL is a data something language. It's a definition language, right? Because they say SQL is a DDL, data definition language. So that's like the definition, that's like the actual like wording of it. And it's a manipulation because data language of SQL basically manipulates data in the table. So like it's a data definition manipulation language. The next one, now these all of this are basically what it's called wait. Oh yeah, so these show the one to many or many to one function. For example, the customer to order is one to many. But what is that circle? It means the customer, although one customer can have many orders, they can also have 0 orders. You see? Supplier. There's one supplier and they supply many products. But they can also only supply one product, you see. Now, what is true? The relationship between supply and product is 1 to 1, that is false, it's 1 to many. The relationship between customer and order, it's many to many, that's false, it's 1 to many. The something and that notation represents the number of entities involved in a degree. No, not a degree. The something crow's foot notation means optionality. No, optionality is a 0. Optionality means an option. So option, this is an option because they can either have many or can either have 0, so it's an option. And also it won't be degree because it's cardinalities. All these are called cardinalities. So this degree is false. So therefore the only answer, the relationship between product and order is many to many. And you can clearly see product and order, there's many lines to many lines. The next one, which of the following interpretation of the ERD is incorrect? So ERD is entity relationship diagram. So looking at it, each order is placed by one and only one customer. That is one and only one customer. That is false, right? Because one customer can place many orders. So each order is placed by one and only one customer. Oh no, that's true. That is true. Because each order is placed by one and only one customer. So each order is placed by one and only one customer. A supplier supplies many products, but each product is supplied by only one supplier. So a supplier supplies many of the products because many is coming from the supplier, but by only one supplier. That is true. Each customer can place many orders, but some customers will not have placed many orders. That is true because they can place 0 orders. Each product is supplied by many suppliers. Hence, there is a many to many relationship between supplier and product. That is false because it's 1 to many. It's not many to many. So the answer will be here is D. The next one. So when you're looking at this database, now always when they're testing databases here in ISTN, they always give you this exact same table. So like, yeah. But really, to be honest, it's not going to help you. So memorizing doesn't matter. So which of the following are primary keys? So I think of primary keys as very important somethings. So which of them here is very important? I'll say it'll be the product, let's see. So the product code and item list table. Actually, no. I think it'll be B and D. Because B is the product code and D is the order number. If you look at it, product code over here and order number over here, it basically is very important because this assigns each product to a code. This assigns each order to a number. Now the reason why it won't be item list, because item list is just like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's naming the list in which this all is. It's not like a code to do like actual, referring to something, right? So the answer will be E. Which of the following is a valid integrity rule? I'll say it's A. Because a product code in the product table must exist in the order item list. So basically what they're saying is if you're going to put a foreign key over here in the product code, which now will become, if you're going to put a foreign key over here, there must be a primary key in the order item list. So it must be there, it must be here also. So that's like the integrity. So over here, basically you want to find all those orders by the name of Naidu that has a status delivered. So under the name of the customer, you know it's Naidu, so put Naidu. Under the status of the order, put delivery. So let's look. This will be no, not product name. You're looking for the name of the customer. So there we go. So you know the name of the customer is Naidu. You know the status of the order is delivered. So whatever you know, you put there and it will give you everything about that. So the answer will be C. The next one, which of the following is not a foreign key in the database? So, not a foreign key. So let's see. So it will be B and C. So it will be D. Because if you think about it, the order number and customer number are primary keys. So if it's not a foreign key, it's a primary key, right? So these are primary keys. So that is why this answer will be this. So which of the following is not an essential task when creating a products table? So it'll be this. You have to define the fields because you have to name the columns what it is. Now I'll say it's this, right? Because remember in the products table, it's not like a main thing, right? So in the products table, you can only have foreign keys. You don't need to have a primary key. Because as long as there's a foreign key in the product table, you don't need a primary key, right? Because a primary key is in another table. So that is why I'm saying a primary key is not needed. Because a product table is not that important to have a primary key. Yes, you can have a foreign key, but not a primary key. So what is the relationship between a customer and order? So think about it. I'll say it's one to many. Because think about it. There's one customer to many orders. One customer can place many orders. And you can see that diagram we did before, right? So which of the following is true? So looking at it, I'll say this. Because excess, over here this will be false. Because excess inquiry, making a form doesn't answer questions. That's inquiry only that answer questions. And a report over here just makes it easy to view the thing, like print the database. So it's got nothing to do with that. So an input mask is basically when you tell the database that always a certain word must start with like certain letters. So that's an input mask. And design view can be used to view the data. I mean, it cannot, that's true. Design view, you're only designing the database. You can't view the data from there. So 3I and IV, so the answer is E. The next one, which type of data will be most appropriate to assign to a final mark? So just pause this and read this, right? So I'll say it's calculated because think about it. What in that column, the final mark column, you're calculating marks, so it'll be calculated. If the maximum score that can be obtained by a student is 100, so you know for a fact all the marks that go in a final mark, the maximum it can go to 100. So let's say some person who's preparing the database mistakenly puts 150. So obviously that's wrong. So database will say it's an error. But now how do we tell the database to display an error when somebody puts some number that is greater than 100? We do something called a validation rule. A validation rule states exactly what the number must be in the database. So if I want a number that is greater than 100, I put x is greater than 100. So for this you'll say x is less than or equal to 100. So all the numbers that is in between, actually no, you'll say x is between 0 and 100 and including, because those are all the numbers that could be on the column. So it's a validation rule. Now the next topic, security. So this manager has recently been charged with improper management of information system and resources. I don't even have to read more. Improper management information of resources. So as you see, they're not using resources properly. It's a computer waste. Resources not using, computer waste. The next one. So okay, so worms. So basically this whole thing is asking what are worms, right? What are worm viruses? I told you, if you look at my previous video, worm viruses, they can squiggle, they can move around. So that is why they can jump on any computer in any network. So the answer will be A. So this one is asking, what is a type of virus basically that is dictated the date and time of the malware would begin? So I told you in my previous video that it will be a logic bomb. A logic bomb is a type of virus where you can set the date and time to when it can activate. So it can be in your computer for a long time, but if somebody with a button, so like a bomb that presses the button, it'll like make the virus work. So it basically, you can create it when to work. The science of designing machines, products, systems, maximize safety, comfort. So when designing technology to be very comfortable, be safety and all that, it's called something called ergonomics. So the answer will be C. So yeah, so that's the past paper of these two sections.